She closed her eyes, breathing the healing aroma of nature as she sat on the edge of a cliff, hearing the faint noise of a river flowing beneath her feet. Whoever wrote this fate for me, thank you. While looking at the moon shining above her head, she expressed her gratitude for this destiny that binds her with him. You will be the of me someday. Her eyes lit up in happiness upon hearing his husky voice, and she tilted her face to the side to face him. You were here? Smiling brightly. Always. Smiled while gazing at her face lovingly. She rested her head on his shoulder, and he wrapped his arm around her, drawing her closer to his heart, where she belongs. She closed her eyes and felt timeless serenity as she listened to the melody of his heartbeats. Looks like you're in a good mood. When you're with your love, everything feels fantastic. Jungkook blushed on her words. Don't just blush, Jungkook, say something back. Tried to create a romantic scene but ruined it instead. Jungkook sighed, feeling done, whereas Wine laughed while hiding her face in his chest. After a moment of complete silence and cuddles, Wine snapped her neck to face him. I have a question. Serious. Yes, love? Curiously asked. If I ever go in heat again, would you do it again? Speechless. Smacked his chest. Yeah, answer me. To be honest, yes, without thinking twice this time. Her eyes widened. Why? Asked in shock. Because last time when I was thinking, gulps remembering about her pain. You suffered a lot, so now I won't delay. And this time I'm not going to let you leave me after. Hugs her. You are mine. Stubbornly expressed his emotions. He smiled internally but decided to tease him a bit. What about my consent? Broke the hug and seriously asked him. But I'm not doing anything on normal days, right? Pouts unintentionally. Drastic situations calls for drastic measures. Whispered in a low tone while thinking hard. He was contemplating, unaware of the fact that she was adoring his confused face all this time. He felt her gaze on him and snapped back to the reality. You wanna do it? Raises his brow. What? Furrows her brow, feeling flustered. Come on, I know. You asked this question because you wanna do it. Smirks mischievously. Her nostrils flared up in frustration and embarrassment, and she shoved him by his chest and hurriedly stood up. I'm not like you. Stomps her foot on the ground like a spoiled brat, scoffs and walks away. Jungkook also stood up and said while dusting his hands, We will see about that. Smirks while thinking something. Don't up again. I beg you, please. Wind making Jungkook laugh evilly. Suddenly, Jungkook's body shuddered as Jeon tried to take control over his body after hearing his Korra's call. Jeon, let's race. She has already taken over Vine's body. Without caring about Jungkook resisting, Jeon took over and excitedly ran behind Korra. Few days later. She screams out, unable to take it anymore. Rushed into the room. What happened, Vian? Scared. Nothing. Pretending like she wasn't the one who screamed like a whale just a moment ago. Are you sure? Walked toward Vian. You have been acting a little weird lately, sat beside her on the bed. Sabrina flinched when Vian suddenly fell back on her bed and laid straight. I'm going crazy. You're not going crazy, Vian. You are crazy. Chuckled snortily when Vian glared at her. sat up straight and pouted. No one cares about me. I would have cursed you if you weren't our Luna. What? Glares. Nothing. I mean, we love you, Ryan. And about Jungkook, he's head over heels for you. Is that why he's ignoring me? Crossed her arms across her chest while an expression clouded her face. Ignoring? No, you are mistaken, Ryan. He's the one who always nag on mates for your proper meals and also your everyday dresses. He himself chooses for you. Gasped slightly. Then why is he avoiding to touch me? No hugs, cuddles, or sighed sadly. Chuckled slightly but controlled. Then ask him. Maybe he is waiting for your permission. Now I get it. Vine, you're so stupid, exclaimed loudly as if she has solved a mystery. Finally, you admitted. Are you okay? Should I call the doctor? Sabrina was taken aback when Vine hugged her tightly, broke the hug, pecked her cheeks and exclaimed, "You are a lifesaver. Love you." Vine stood up from the bed and walked towards the door, but stopped midway, turned around and sat. Get ready to be the godmother of my kids, winks at Sabrina and walks out, leaving a speechless Sabrina behind. At night, Jungkook's POV. The lights were off. Has my little night owl already slept? My heartbeat quickened and senses became alert when someone pushed me by my chest and pinned me to the wall, while that person's hand wrapped around my neck, but still careful enough not to choke me. I inhaled her calm scent to soothe my nerve, and it worked wonders. What happened? Gulped nervously and tried to look at her face in the dark. Nothing yet. Spoke in a seductive tone. She leaned in closer and put her face on the crook of his neck, inhaling his scent, still wrapping her hand around his neck. He pressed his lips together to control his wildly escaping and fisted his hands to refrain himself from touching her and taking her right there and then. He felt her warm breaths and lips on his neck and collarbone and shuddered under her touch. Vine smirked in satisfaction and started her prank. Help me, Jeon. Breathed heavily. Hearing her heavy breaths, he forced himself to gain his senses and gripped her wrist, making her leave his neck and step back a little. Are you okay, Vine? Wangley inquired. No. Shook her head innocently, but soon bit her lips while staring at him. JKPOV. Moonlight from the window fell on her face in the dark. I noticed her staring at me with her bewitching gaze while biting her lips, indicating that a disaster is on its way. Don't do this. Using his thumb, he released her lips from her teeth. Why? Breathe out. I'll lose control, I swear. Heavily breathe. Who is stopping you? Gazed him up and down. Look, you are taking advantage of me. Gets nervous and covers his chest with his hands. And who is going to stop me today? Leaned in dangerously closer to him, her eyes shone red in the dark. He tried to get a little away from her, but she grabbed his arm and pushed him to the bed. He shook his head and crawled back, but she climbed on the bed and hovered over him, pinning him on the bed. You'll regret. We'll see about that, smirks. You're not going to like it, warning her. How would I know without trying? Grinned evilly. She leaned in and he held his breath and closed his eyes tightly to feel. But opened them when he felt her weight lifted off him and heard her laughing like a witch. He sat up bewildered and gazed at her. What was that? Prank? Burst out laughing. Prank? Nodded his head while biting his cheeks in frustration. Prank. Now I'll show you its consequences. She suddenly stopped giggling after hearing his words and tried to run away, but he was fast enough to catch her and pin her beneath him. Listen to me, panicking. No words. Saying this, he smashed his on hers and began the actual adventure. After a few minutes, you did this. Smacked his chest hard, causing him to groan in pain. Sorry, not sorry, love. Laughed while feeding her food. Why me? Wait, consequences matter. Packed her lips. Yes, Polly. Yeah, not in front of the kids. Pointed towards her belly. So what? They should also be aware of how much their dad loved their mother. Caressed her cheeks lovingly and then pecked her belly. Don't hurt Mama, okay? They both smiled and he fed her healthy breakfast. She stood up from her seat and sat down again as a loud shriek left her mouth. Jungkook quickly held her and all the maids Sabrina and Jin ran towards them. Jungkook, quick, it's time. Jungkook nodded worryingly, carefully held her up in a bridal style and ran out. They were about to take her inside the room when Vine grabbed Jungkook's hand, squeezed it and yelled, "Can't you give birth instead of me?" Cried in pain. "If I could, I would," cried while looking at her. Jungkook let her go inside. "I'm going as well," cried. Doctors took Vine inside as her pains were intensifying, while Jin and the rest of the guard held Jungkook back. He cried hearing her screams, not caring that everyone was staring at him strangely. After a few moments, Vine's screams stopped and replaced by the gentle, faint, innocent cries of his newborn pup. Jungkook made his way inside the room and no one stopped him this time. He smiled through tears as he stared at the adorable infants in Nurse's arms. He took them in his arms and kissed them with pure love, feeling a gush of emotions building up inside him and his dad instincts kicking in. "Dad loves you, my princess and prince," adoring his kids. He handed them back to the nurse and made his way towards his Luna. He directly took her unconscious body in his embrace and cried, "Thank you, love, and I'm so sorry. I will never do anything like this ever again." Cried. "Are you sure?" With her raspy voice, she inquired mischievously. He broke the hug and began pecking her all over the face, making her laugh. "Have you seen our kids?" Excitedly gestured nurse to hand him the kids. Took them in a lap. "Wow, they look like bunnies, just like you." "But they are wolves," Jeon held as a proof. Vine and Cora laughed at them. He came forward and kissed her, making her eyes go wide. "Yeah, have some shame. Kids are watching," blushed. He smirked, tenderly covered his children's eyes with his hands and kissed her once more. "I love you." "You should," nodded proudly, and they both broke into laughter once again.